Maybe Wilson, do you want to start?
Page 28.
Yeah, and it's
Is that right?
Yeah.
The teacher must by law transmit everything necessary for work, but is free to present the ideas in such a way that individuals in a group are forced by necessity to share fully and completely with each other those individually received fragments of work methods and intelligence, which might have happened to this vagary of chance. In so doing, they are forced to work together cooperatively as a team or fail miserably at any attempt to work. This group intimacy is a professional necessity in the work, because eventually the group will intentionally form a work partnership, which we call a circle of friends. And I pass.
Thank you. Eventually, no matter where we begin, we must sooner or later arrive at Philadelphia. Naturally, after Philadelphia, all roads are really the same, and the journey never comes to an end. Of course, this does not refer to the American city of Philadelphia. The word Philadelphia was originally a Greek word, Philadelphia, meaning brotherly love. If you examine the etymology of the various syllables, you will observe that phila comes from the Greek philos, to love, and Delphia comes from the Greek word adelphos, brother. We must eventually, no matter from where we begin our journey, pass through the city of brotherly love, after which all roads are the same and the road goes ever on. Pass.
We must eventually, no matter from where we begin our journey, pass through the city of brotherly love, after which all roads are the same and the road goes ever on. The teacher's work with groups is just a very small part of his or her real work. This means that even in his relationship to a group to which he has given all necessary data for its preparation for the work, he cannot transmit to them his own understanding of that part of the work, which is their own individual work. Pass.
In our present state, how could we understand the scope of the teacher's work? We see everything linearly, trying to penetrate into the future. In his work, he penetrates into the present. Many times has he passed through this life until it is what we see before us. If our work is successful, it is not into another world to which we will return, but into this world again and again, using this opportunity of immortality in the present to perfect our life. Our life is our work. I'll pass.
How can the teacher convince us to take a larger risk? What if we were brought to the doors behind which we could see for ourselves those great domains of obligation to the absolute? What would we do if we were able to see and comprehend more profound responsibilities towards the work? If the meaning and significance of the teacher's work becomes visible to us? Later, when we see more, we should understand the greater necessity. When we see something greater than ourselves, we become able to actually make quantum out of our own personal suffering, and at the same time to the changeless endlessness of the absolute. Through the study of obligation, we will come to understand that the whole secret of real is the acceptance turn to this world, this life, and the continual and endless perfection of our own life path.
Did anyone else have trouble with the last?
Yeah. Yeah, you're breaking up quite a bit, Wilson.
Okay, I'll switch. It's our bandwidth isn't very strong. I'll
Yeah, I
switch
know.
to phone then and come back.
I'll read the paragraph again. Okay, Nisha, we're at the bottom of page 29, last paragraph. Later, when we see more, we should understand the greater necessity. When we see something greater than ourselves, we become able to actually make a quantum leap out of our own personal suffering, and at the same time as a group become independently formed in preparation for the work. Hi, Bernie, top of page 30. What is our eternal return through this life compared to the changeless endlessness of the absolute? Through the study of obligation, we will come to understand that the whole secret of real initiation into the work is the acceptance of eternal return to this world and this life, and the continual and endless perfection of our own life. Pass to Bartman.
If our possible acceptance of obligation to the absolute is not directly presented, we must somehow learn to see opportunities for work and take them on our own initiative. If our very lives are our work, then in the course of endlessly returning through our lives, we are expected to discover those areas in which the diamond is still rough and study them and work on them somehow to grind away the perfections. In that case, how long must we study ourselves until we change something about ourselves? Pass.
Bartleman, it was imperfections.
Yeah. You want to do it again? Do it again. And
All right.
we'll let Bernie know that we're on the second paragraph on page 30 that begins.
Yes. Thank you. I made it.
Okay.
If our possible acceptance of obligation to the absolute is not directly presented, we must somehow learn to see opportunities for work and take them on our own initiative. If our very lives are our work, then in the course of endlessly returning through our lives, we are expected to discover those areas in which the diamond is still rough and study them and work on them somehow to grind away the imperfections. In that case, how long must we study our lives until we change something about ourselves?
Thank you. Nishant.
We may return to this world again and again, but nothing in the outer world will change. The outcome will be the same. The machine will say the same things, think the same thoughts, feel the same feelings, behave in exactly the same way, and in the end, nothing about the outer life of the machine will have changed. It is not in the matrix, the outer self of the organic machine, but in the diamond, the being, that real change is possible. To really see, hear, feel, and sense. To have the will to awaken the machine, to be able to place, replace, fix, split, diffuse, and concentrate attention directly as the source of attention. To be a functioning, conscious source of transforming evolutionary radiation.
Wilson.
In the beginning work, some will find that self-study, a particular concentration of attention, is more useful to them, whereas the invocation of presence is better as a very beginning effort for others. The invocation of presence wells up from the higher emotional centrum when no counter current of negative emotion interferes, and can empower self-study, as exemplified by the process of following the motions of the human biological machine as a lover would follow every motion of one's beloved, but without a serious application of a highly disciplined force of intense personal agape. Adoration is almost completely mental and therefore useless.
Emotional methods appeal more to some, as you might expect, while the intellectual methods appeal more to others, because according to the objective law, which translates as the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, all human beings, just like the other members of the monkey family, always want only what they do not have, while those of the work are willing to want only what they have. Group efforts by themselves do nothing to alleviate the suffering of the afterlife. The work can only be accomplished by evolved beings who have assumed the obligation of eternal return, working toward the perfection of their own lives by the awakening of the machine, and at some time performing as a group their daily obligation again, performing as a group their daily obligatory work, prayer, absolute.
Thank you.
Group work is only for the preparation of individuals who are already possible candidates for the work. That is, those who already have a natural aptitude for the work and need no convincing to work. They are naturally motivated by their awakening love for the absolute. Someone already in the work may take the time, if their work allows, to help a group prepare to assume the obligation of the work. However, it must be understood that a group is not intended to continue endlessly. After an effective group is formed, everyone else is sent away. The community which has formed the fishing net is dissolved, and the group is closed to outsiders, except when necessary to replace one or more members of the circle. I'll pass.
If you understand this idea, then you should be able to easily accept that one does not join a community with a work orientation to attain for oneself a few supernatural powers, but to prepare oneself for the work. A teacher can only offer preparation for the work. He or she cannot tell in advance whether this preparation will be productive or not. Nothing is guaranteed for either party. And if you wish to take from the teacher precious time from his own work life, you must show real aptitude for the work and a great deal of enthusiasm, which does not fail at the first sign of serious struggle. Pass to Bartleman.
I lost my page. Something jumped.
Page 32, bottom paragraph starting with do not.
Do not romanticize the work community or the group work, which leads to the work community. Group work is for the benefit of the teacher, not the individuals in the group. It is the means by which the teacher can conveniently gather together all possible candidates in his or her sphere of magnetic influence, so that the potential of each one in relation to the others can be measured. Then it can be decided toward which ones his or her efforts would be most profitably placed. There is a chart on the next, some diagram. Not sure what it is. 1 second.
Could we
So-
comment, Pat, in this text?
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Could we chat or comment or explore
Yes.
this? Because it's, for me, it's very, very strong. And with strong, I mean, you don't read this in other lineage. You don't get this information. Generally, the information is different. It's come here and you will be happy, and you will, as he says, you will attain supernatural powers, and come, and that is, here is the way. And this last paragraph, I've said many times this. I make notes when I read, you know, and I see that I have wrote expendables. You know, is that the word in English? Expendables.
Yes.
And that for the ego machine is very tough to digest,
Yes.
of course, no. But I don't know if I told you once in a workshop with Claudio Naranjo. He was talking this line, and the moment he was finishing and he was leaving, I stood up because I was very upset, and I said, hey Claudio, are we guinea pigs? You know, guinea pigs. Is that an English word?
Guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs. And he stopped and said, of course, and me too. And he went away. So it's baffling in a way. But anyway, I wanted to share this because as you say, this information is very difficult to swallow because we have the feeling of being expendable, no? And that is very tough for the ego construction, no? Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
It is a concept that we have as, you know, children to our parents, students to our teachers, lovers to our partners, have been contradicted the whole time with you're special, you're unique, you're really wanted, exactly the way you are is perfect, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah. It is the antithesis of all the material existence that we've had. Yeah. Yeah. That's why the book has this title.
I've also been around long enough to observe that there will be an individual with a certain typicality that will leave the group. And then when I would come back and visit, there would be someone that was of the same typicality who had come, who had come in. So it really taught me wasn't so much individuality, but the kind of the necessity of sort of the alchemical typicality. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, makes absolutely.
I want to look at the chart for a minute. I have never, ever, ever been able to decipher the categories that are along the sides on the right-hand column. I can sort of get the 1, 2, 3, and 4, simple unity, root unity, unity squared, and unity cubed. I mean, I have a little bit of math in my background, so it's not a super complex consideration. And the way it's described on the far right hand column, it'll say 10 root, 100 square, 1,000 cube kind of thing. I kind of get the relationship of the dynamic that's being described. But as soon as I get into that, the numbered circled items, it starts with God, and then the circled item is seraphim and cherubim, and going all the way down to 1,000 earth. I can't catch how the relationship is with those labels to either the next column or the far right column. Anybody got any suggestions about how this hierarchy of beings works?
No, not a clue, but there's at the first look, there seems to be, at least in the bottom, a progression, a kind of progression. Yeah. Earth, water, air, fire. No, it's not a progression. It's a mixture of the energies that the alchemists used to work with, but metals, plants, no. Yes, plants, sulfates, animals, mercury. No.
Yeah.
Somebody should explain this to us.
Well, I'll see if we can find the expert.
So in this one, in the animal, above that animal, there is no human. It starts with moon, Mercury, Venus, and then sun. Sun is so.
Well, we are animals, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a general animals. It doesn't say anything separate. Um,
Animals with a
I mean,
thinking
we
cap.
are animals, but we are not. I mean, we are both. So it
Yeah, but
starts with moon.
on the far right-hand side of that bottom corruptible world sphere, it says 100 man. So I'm assuming all of those parts that are in that circle and going off to the right, that they're all aspects of man.
Oh, 100. Oh, right, yes.
And then the one above that is heaven. And then the one
And then 10, and then one God. Okay. 1, 10, and 100.
yeah.
Hmm.
You're a chimpanzee with clothes? Yeah. Okay. I can go with that. You're wearing their clothes. That's nice. I'm wearing my hat. Yeah. And the hierarchy, the Kabbalistic hierarchy of beings, I have no background in the Kabbalistic distinctions. So I can't say why the schedule itself, the diagram, is described as a Kabbalistic hierarchy of beings rather than some other form. I don't get that. I don't know where it comes from or what the history of it is. What I find is just incredibly fascinating is that on the left hand side there's this number 1 through 28. And
Hmm.
having done quite a lot of math, I don't think that there is any table that resonates with 28. So
That must be the octave, right? 7 times 4 is 28.
Doesn't the moon have a cycle of 28 days?
Yeah.
okay, that's helpful.
And then astrology is all based on that middle, the heavenly spheres, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars,
Yeah,
Saturn.
astrological, yeah.
Yeah, so that is all based on this circle, the heavenly spheres.
Mhm.
And then angel, archangels, principalities, powers, virtues, dominations. And what is this root, square, and cube? So 10 root, 100 square, and 1000 cube.
If you multiply 10 times 10, which would
Hmm.
be 10 squared, you get 100. If you multiply 100 times what? 10?
10,
You get
yeah.
1,000. So that's a cube. So I think it's a description of what the circles are, the tiny circles with the number in it, then this bigger circle that goes around 3 things, and then the larger circle that goes around the collection of the 10 items. I'm assuming that's what they're describing is.
Yeah, also on the left lower it says 2 root of unity, and then 3
Yeah,
unity squared, and
yeah,
4 unity cubed.
yeah, yeah. So simple unity is God, and then the next one is the seraphim through the angels, and the next one is the whatever you call those things, the spheres. And then I don't understand the bottom one at all.
I wish I could remember more, but I know when we were doing the building in Second Life, EJ and Claude talked a lot about the cube. And that, um, all the building that you did was sort of with this multiplication of the cube. And I remember him, EJ, saying something about, that it was like the doubled cube. But working, I don't have the mental constructs to be able to explain it, but there was a way, in Second Life where, there was the point or the root prim,
Mhm.
which then you cubed and then you built, it was this kind of this sense of the building block to create reality.
There you
It's
go.
probably something in the blue lining too. Maybe Hans would have some insight on it. But for me, it's pretty impossible to understand really the chart. So,
Well, thank you for reminding us of that. Yeah, bricks, Bernie says. Yeah. Bricks that you build with in Second Life are three-dimensional.
As
Something
well
that
as the God engine.
Yes.
something that comes to my mind as we are exploring this figure is that the the three rounds, start from the bottom, corruptible world, then heavenly spheres, and finally angelic world.
Mhm.
That is a progression, I think, no? The the line of Rumi, we were first mineral, then we were plants, and then we were animals, and so that could make something. I don't know what, but something of
Yeah.
a progression is there, no?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's enough language that we have some familiarity with, that we can kind of grasp some of what is being described. I would imagine that if there was some looking at the Lefebvre or Pico de la Mirandola, something like that, there might be more online, research that could be
Also,
more explanatory, give you more data. I'm not sure.
also EJ talks about God state.
Yes.
So is it all these, any of, like, when you are on any of these states, that is God state, angel, archangel, this is one God, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a language which I don't feel confident in my experiential or scholastic exploration to even step into. One of the things I love about having a chart in front of me is I can look at it from the bottom to the top, from the left to the right. I can look at the language, I can look at the titles, I can look at the references, and it gives me something just spatially looking at it, even if I don't have an understanding of all the parts. But I don't have any explanations.
Does anyone see this chart as a scale, like a musical scale or a totem?
Yeah.
yeah, I was saying totem, and I was also thinking about how frequencies, light slowed down becomes sound slowed down, that it's a vibratory chart. Um, so there's a continuity of consciousness is kind of what I can see in the vertical.
Like light frequencies, Wilson?
It's sort of like that there's a continuum of consciousness, where you would say the God space is the, endlessness, the dance of light, that then as it slows down, it moves into different manifestations that, for example, the seraphim, are at one frequency, but the angels are at um, a slower frequency. I'm so that's where I was getting that whole kind of sense about the totem pole that you mentioned. It's all one thing, but the manifestation changes as you go up or down that energetic totem.
That was nicely put. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me, Tamara, of remember the video where I think it was Linda and EJ and Claude, they were doing the little beads?
Yes, yeah. The macro dimensions, yeah.
Yes. That's what you just reminded me of.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate. I would like us to finish this chapter. I'd like to finish the words because I know that they relate to the chart and I want to try and keep them together in my small brain. And I
Well,
don't.
before we move on to the chart, I feel like in a way we have just kind of replicated what was in the chapter, that you need everybody to sort of piece together the understanding, which was talked about on the, the other page, is that we really need each other to form a coherent quilt of understanding.
Mm.
Like everyone holds a different patch, Tamara?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Brings back a lot of stuff for me right now.
It's good. So where are we in reading? Oh, Nishant, you want to say something?
Mhm. No, you want me to read or pass?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Men and women have definite and separate work functions, but must work together as a cooperative team to accomplish a common purpose, in which neither of the two is more important than the other. Only women can learn to activate the sanctuary in preparation for prayer absolute, while men are able to perform the actual prayer. Women can produce the exact atmosphere necessary for the sacred space itself, but males produce the exact negative force which sends the active principle of the prayer upward. For this, the denying force must be produced in the lower cosmos.
The female passive principle cannot become denying force for prayer, but can produce the denying force for the activation of sacred space. Only then, when the atmosphere of the sanctuary, the work chamber, which is to be prepared for prayer absolute, and is let me begin all again. Only then, when the atmosphere of the sanctuary, the work chamber, which is to be prepared for prayer absolute, and is ordinarily sealed when not in use for this specific activity, has been cleaned, purified by incense and sound, and activated, by which I mean charged with a special force that will serve as the substance which will feed the invocation, are men able to actually use the sanctuary for the performance of prayer absolute. And I pass.
If I may, of course, the other forms of prayer and work, again, of course, for other forms of prayers, of course, for other forms of prayer and work, the opposite is true. For instance, in oracular ritual, men would clean and prepare the atmosphere, and the women would perform the function of Pythian priestesses. As usual with human beings, the women wish to do what only the men can do well, and the men would prefer to do what only the woman can do. It is natural for human beings and other monkeys to wish to do what they can do. The women also have the function of cleaning and purifying the sanctuary after it has been used for prayer absolute. The objective sense, woman's place is really in the home. This way, women can become women as they ought to be, and men can become men as they also ought to be. Women wish to be liberated from their objective function, and men wish to be liberated from their objective function. Each feels that the other has the best part of the bargain, but in effect, men and women are two sides of the same coin. But who can accept this idea without great inner struggle?
The 99 possible laws or entities to which one could make oneself subject never descend into male and female. Those who attach themselves voluntarily to these great laws, which are often called by the superstitious, but give that to you again, which are often called by the superstitious name of angels, because their bodies seem to be composed entirely of self-luminous, finer, spiritualized matter. And also because they happen, not by their own choice, to seem to float slightly above the ground, can be male or female. There is an equal chance for men and women. The Absolute is an equal opportunity employer.
I want a t-shirt with that saying on that line.
Me too.
The Absolute is an equal opportunity employer.
Before we do chapters and pages, I just want to have us go back to the first line of this chapter, which, by the way, is called Bound in Return. Does anyone have a different take on just the chapter title since we've completed the reading of it, at least so far?
Well, isn't the word yoga about kind of being yoked, or Jesus saying, talking about, his yoke is light, but
Harnessed.
thank you. Yeah, that I think that sense of obligation is always been really one of the frightening concepts for me of the work.
Thank you, Wilson. I this time I had the much more impactful understanding that this is bound in return is being absolutely entirely returned exactly as is. No change. Bound in return. It is a complete recycle every single time. That's just a little bit different than my previous take on this rebirth and participating in the work and, taking your place and that kind of stuff. this says very, very clearly that the obligation is to return as is exactly to the same lives in the same form, which is a little bit different than what I had taken as the deal. It's interesting. Comments, questions, suggestions, drawings, songs, dances, theatrical productions, anything? T-shirts?
I got that written down.
A lot of information to swallow, digest, and as many of the writings of this guy, Jay, it conflicts with the usual literature that you see around, no? But it's powerful, powerful. Because of this, it's very powerful.
Yeah, I felt during this reading together that the atmosphere got very thick for me, and to the point where it was very difficult even to read. So thank you all.
One thing that I have noticed in reading EJ's books over the decades is that the specificity and exactness of his language, saying what is meant, not implying something, is, it's very, it goes down multiple layers. So as soon as you start reaching into what a sentence means or how it is stated, then you get 2 or 3 more layers of something in reference to other materials also. That's, I just read the first sentence again, which if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to read the first sentence of this chapter because it's exactly what I'm talking about. The lust of destruction, which moves human beings to destroy priceless statues and smash works of objective art, such as stained glass windows and archaeological monuments, is the same force which has also deprived contemporary man of the valuable transforming results of translation into higher dimensions, an effect produced by a special type of objective prayer called prayer absolute. What could be more devastating to your thought that you understood what he was saying than to reread that sentence again after this chapter? I still got to go back and read that things that define the prayer absolute already. I'm glad they wrote it down because I would never remember all of this.
Something that I would like to share, and Nishant and Bardoman maybe find the same thing in the coincidence control. A couple of hours ago, we were in the curse of Labyrinth Reader's curse with Andrew. And there is a paragraph here that if I wouldn't think of, it's incredible, that brings what we were talking in page 31, almost at the top. In beginning work, some will find that self-study, in particular concentration of attention, is more useful to them, whereas the invocation of presence is better as a very beginning for others. Then the next paragraph. Invocation of presence wells up from the higher emotional centrum, when no counter-current of negative emotions interferes, blah, 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 whatever. But we were studying this, the agape, the adoration of the machine, Shant and Vardaman, do you remember? We are finishing that curse, no? So I was thinking that I was in the same curse that 2 hours before. So probably we're always speaking or pointing at the same place, no? Different words, same place, same. I don't know how to express it. Nishant, did you feel something in that line, Bardoman?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're saying, but what came up for me when you said what you just said was I was thinking about the invocation of presence exercise, and I was thinking about the God state adventures we've been doing. And I get to the same place with either exercise. I don't know if that is what you might be talking about.
Yes, yes, and the coincidence that some hours ago we were working on that, and you know, I take it for that coincidence confirm.
Mhm.
I don't know if Nishant is here to corroborate what I said. Maybe not.
Well, I can guarantee you that Claude and I have not discussed the schedule of our events online to see where we overlap. It's kind of a given that at some point, all of this does interact with each other, you know, kind of like you're weaving and making something from it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the word, interact. Thank you. That's the word. That's the idea. Interact.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, interact.
Not a surprise, but good. Anyone else? We are going to meet together 2 weeks from now. That will be in December. And then we'll have a conversation about whether we're having that second Sunday or not because of the overlap with things.
Okay.
So how about the 4 lines?
It was a
Yes.
great meeting. Thanks, Patricia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yes. All
All
Phenomena.
Phenomena is
is
illusion,
illusion.
neither
Neither
attracted nor
nor
repelled,
repelled,
Not
not
making
making any sudden moves.
sudden
My
moves.
habits
habits
will carry me
carry
through.
me
me through.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. That was very good.
Bye bye.